We're going to use reflexive, symmetric, and transitive more this unit. Not so much today, but just recap. Reflexive, it's equal to itself. Symmetric, you can flip the order and it's the same. Transitive is the chain of events. We're going to move on. What I'd like you to talk about with your table is if two shapes are congruent, what does that actually mean? They're the same, Miss Brandt. What's the same? That's what I want you to talk about. On example 1, it says draw triangle ABC and triangle DEF so that they are congruent. Here's the thing. Should have edited this. I didn't. You already have this drawn for you. So we're just going to use the triangles that are drawn above. If you want to redraw them, you go for it. I am not, because I'm not very good at drawing. Triangle is already given. We're going to use these. List all 6 pairs of congruent corresponding parts. Corresponding means that like this angle matches up with that angle and this side matches up with that side, because the sides and angles should be the same. Don't make this more difficult than it should be. Look at the picture. These 2 triangles are congruent, meaning all the sides and all the angles are congruent. Angle A is congruent to what, guys? And we're writing all 6 of these. Angle D, and we know that because A has 2 marks and so does D. Yeah. Angle B is congruent to what?
Angle C.
No. Look at the other triangle. What's the name? E. B has 1 mark, so does E. And then the remaining angle, C and F, are congruent. If you would like to also mark those, we have to mark them differently. I'm going to mark it with 3. Angle C is congruent to angle F. So that's all the angles. You can also write statements for the sides. When you write that segments are congruent, you have to put the segment bar over it. And we're going to go ahead and mark this up as we go. So AB would be congruent to what? DE. And please make sure you say DE, because A had 2 marks and D has 2 marks. The order matters. Emma, BC is congruent to what? Yeah. Yep. So let's mark those with 2. And then you could do AC or CA. Does not matter. I'm going to do CA. If I do CA, then Logan, I have to say what for the other one?
FD.
FD. The order matters. Good. So that's all 6 things that are congruent. All the sides, all the angles, the order matters. Pay attention to how it's marked, because that's significant. When we're writing congruent statements, what you're telling me is that shape number 1 is congruent to shape number 2. If you want to make a note of that. So we're talking about congruent statements. It's like shape 1 is congruent to shape 2. Not the side lengths, not the angles. I'm talking about the entire name. The name of the first one and the name of the second one. So we're going to name these. These 2 triangles are congruent. If I name the first one triangle PQR, so that's this guy, the order matters. You got to make sure that it goes in the same corresponding order. I did PQR. So you have to do STU. Yeah, because it was 3, 2, 1. 3 arcs, 2 arcs, 1 arc. P goes with S, T goes with U, or T goes with Q, and R goes with U. Triangle PQR is congruent to triangle STU. You don't have to do that order, though. Let's get one other name. If we do RQP, or even, oh, not even that. If we do RQR, RPQ. We'll make it even more obnoxious. RPQ. Then you have to switch the order of the second one. If you do that, then what order do you have to use for the other triangle? UST. So if you switch the order of one, you have to switch the order of the other. That's what I need you to know. The corresponding angles have to go together. You should be able to get some information without even drawing pictures. In number 3, it says quadrilaterals ABCD and EFGH are congruent. Without drawing a picture, list all 8 pairs of corresponding congruent parts. Let's start with the angles. Since the order matters, this congruent statement tells you what you need to know. What do you think angle A is going to be congruent to, guys? Angle E. Yeah. Because it was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. What do you think B is going to be congruent to? F, the second one. And so on. C to G, and D to the last one, H. Whatever order it's in, those are the angles that are congruent. It gives you what you need to know. You can do the same thing with the segments. So Ava, what do you think AB would be congruent to? Make sure when you write congruent statements for the segments that you put the bar over the 2 letters. Justin, what do you think BC would be congruent to? Joe, what do you think about CD? What's that congruent to?
FG. Wait. FE.
Go in the same order. CD were the last 2 letters, so which ones do they have to be with the other one? GH. There you go. And then the last one, if I do DA, then Matt, what goes with that?
HE.
Yep, has to go the same order. Sweet, you can do this without even drawing. XZY is congruent to RTS. Before you get going, mark what you know. If we have X, which angle is congruent to X based on the statement? R. It's in the same spot. It's the first letter. So Z is congruent to T. Mark that with 2. And so Y is congruent to S. Now it's really obvious which ones are the same. You can write 2 equations. You know that 2x minus 20. What is 2x minus 20 equal to, Liberty? And solve. You can add 20. Divide by 2. Abby Pitchell, what's the other equation I should write? For 3y plus 9.
X equals 30. Yeah. Shouldn't it be 25?
Yep. Thanks. See, everyone makes mistakes. Thank you. Yeah, x is not 30. No. I just messed up. Better? Yeah, that's better. Subtract 9, divide by 3. Y is equal to 2. Did I do it right this time? Okay, that's good. I'm not going to mark them all, but we'll get the ones that we need. Based on the statement, because we have to write some equations, what is A congruent to? Look at this statement. E. Okay, that works out well. But don't assume that just because you think they look alike. Actually look at what you're given. C, based on the statement, is congruent to G, the third letter. So I'm going to mark that with 2, and I'm going to also mark it in the diagram. If you still think you're better than marking things in the picture, get over that, because it's really helpful, and I need you to do it in this unit if you haven't been doing it. You should solve for x first. So the first equation I would write is 60 plus 8x equals 108. If you subtract 60 and divide by 8, you should get x. Aiden, what do you got for x?
6.
Okay. Here's the problem. Angle G has 8y minus 3x. So I should plug in x for, or 6 for x. So then it would be 8y minus 18 instead. Now you can solve it. 8y minus 18 equals 62. Because G and C are the same. That should be 10. Can you please talk at your table? Do your best. Why do you think it makes sense? If you already know 2 are congruent, then the third ones are also congruent. What we're saying is, you have this, then you can assume that these are also congruent. Why does that make sense based on what you know about triangles? These are 100, and these ones are 50. Then what does the other angle have to be? 30. And you know that because you know that they add up to 180. So if you know 2 are already the same, then you can get that the third is also the same. That's why this kind of works, right? Let's do number 6. Things are congruent if all the sides are congruent and all the angles are congruent. On number 6, you have 2 of the angles are congruent. Is the third congruent? Yes, and by the way, if you did not see the second angle, this one also has to be 90 because it's a linear pair. The third is congruent because of the theorem we just talked about. If you have 2, then you know the third. Here's the problem. You only have 2 sides right now. Can you get a third side, the last side, to be congruent? Alyssa, how? Yeah, they share it. Because they share that side, that counts as a congruent side. Are these 2 triangles congruent? Certainly. Yes, because all the sides and all the angles are congruent. Since you have all the sides and angles, then you can say that the shapes are congruent. All corresponding When you think you have it, you can check your work and also maybe check mine just to make sure I'm right.
I didn't know.
Okay. I'll you check those.